Um, yeah, what I'm trying to do with Blade is I'm working from the metaphor that Malcolm threw out, and when I look at if we take the comic and then kind of jump to the movies, one of the things that's clear in the comic book is that given the moment when Blade is created, as I said, it's part of the creation of a Pan-African group of black superheroes. And Blade emerges initially with his own Pan-African group of vampire slayers that are killed, all of them but I guess Musinda and Blade are killed by Dracula, and then Blade is forced into an alliance with Quincy Harker and a group of white vampire hunters. And what's interesting there is that these white vampire hunters actually represent the British Empire. If you talk about where their origins, right? They have one Indian guy, Taj, and Taj is the only character that's part of the Quincy Harker group that Blade gets along with. They actually develop a good relationship. Everything else is contentious, and so in that sense, it's reflecting, the Black Power moment, right? And again, it's probably unconscious, but it does reflect that. So what I try and do is draw out those Pan-Africanist themes, right? I also try and highlight what I see as anti-capitalist elements, which are more prominent in the film than in the comic. But again, if you make the sense that Blade is clearly constructed as a working class figure, and Dracula, of course, represents the aristocracy. Now, you can say it's the wrong mode of production, right? Dracula represents feudalism, or the tributary mode of production, as Samir Amin would call it, and Blade would represent the working class, or the black working class. But you can make a few adjustments, but in the film, I think, while I think some of the things, your criticisms along gender lines, I think are accurate, but they reflect a trend that once women emerge in action film as people who engage in the fight, then you're going to have that. But on the basis of race and class, I don't know that we've ever had a mainstream feature film that was as stark and clear in the kind of class and race message and how these things intertwine as Blade. Now, the problem is that over the course of the three films, there's a de-racialization, right? And the class politics get completely jettisoned to appeal to, I would argue, to make it more sellable on the international market. You got to reduce the complexity and make it just fighting. But that first film, the things that they're doing in imagery, I mean, first of all, when how you got the hero who's in triple black, the villain is Frost, right? It's vampire. That's as clear, and they play on those race class metaphors. They also play on African American culture to really situate that Blade is this is a black guy that's rooted in African American culture. So those are the kind of things that I'm trying to pull out, and of course I want to really develop the notion here that in the film, the first film particularly, vampirism is whiteness, right? Whiteness and capitalism are also in harmony, and that blackness is the means toward eliminating vampirism. So, for example, it's not just Blade in his iconic blackness, but it's also that Karen Jensen's character, right? 2 of the 3 vampire hunters are black, male and female. But Karen Jensen's creation of the antidote that will reverse the effects of vampirism is based on a retrovirus that they develop from sickle cell anemia. And so, when you begin to factor those things in, you can see that throughout that film, blackness is clearly juxtaposed to vampirism, which is meant to be the identification of capitalism and whiteness.